Hello, this is post-editing Colosso here. I actually had to make contact with Letho because I did want to make sure that I got my facts right. So the issue with my Venus laying flat, they said it is just a sample issue. It is not going to be on their final product, which obviously I assumed. But they did say that you can kind of fold it like this to help with the creasing. And then another thing that they did say is the XL size is only going to be $5 more. So you can get a 500 by 500 Otsu or Zero for $55, which is incredible. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Yo, what is going on, guys? I'm back with another review video. It is going to be on my Lethal Gaming Gear Venus Pro Edition. I'm very sorry for how my voice sounds. I just woke up like 30 minutes ago, and I haven't even eaten yet. So right off the bat, I want to talk about the downsides to this pad. And it's only downsides because I think it's a sample. It is not the full finished product, which is perfectly fine. I do not mind being sent a sample, but I do just want to talk about the issues that I had with this pad, only because it is something that I should be doing as a reviewer. You can see over here that it has not laid flat since, and then the stitching up here, for some reason, it's not like straight. There's like a lump and then it goes straight again. And like I said, this is not going to be an issue when it comes to the full product. I do just want to talk about the things that I got with this pad that I received. And now on to the good, because there's pretty much everything good about this pad. I really love this pad. I'm able to use it in whatever game I want. It is incredibly consistent and very well performing in every game that I choose to play, which is really good. Something that's really important to me, especially as a reviewer, is going to be, can I use this pad for multiple games, because it reaches a wider audience. And honestly, I don't feel like it does, only because I'm able to use it in games like CS and Valorant. But the only reason I wouldn't recommend it is because the people that always ask me for pad advice, and they specifically talk about CS and Valorant, they always use a GSR or like a SteelSeries QCK. And for me personally, I don't know how well people are able to adjust to a big jump in speed in terms of like mouse pad. But when I was playing Fortnite like religiously, and I went from like my Game Sense Radar all the way to an Artisan Hien, it was uncontrollable for me. It took me so long. I think it took me like 4 months to get used to that pad. And I don't know if people are willing to put up with that, because this pad, if you're using a Zowie pad or a QCK, is going to be a major upgrade in every single way. But the performance is like, that's like the number one thing you should be looking for, and the number one thing you should question yourself if you can get used to it, if you're willing to put up with it. Because I wasn't able to perform very well for those 4 months, and it really hindered like my mental. But if you want to try something new, you want to try speed pad, then by all means, this is probably going to be your best option right now. It is everything Artisan-like with such a cheap price. It is insane to see such a premium pad at a cheaper price than Artisan is offering. So on their website, it says that they're going to be selling this pad for $50 and in XL square, which is 500 by 500, which is absolutely insane to me. That is such a... It's right in between like a cheap and premium price, but you are getting a massive size, an end game size, and an end game pad for $50. That is cheaper than every Artisan. They offer affiliate codes with it, and it's US shipping, so you don't have to wait super long, other than the fact that it is a pre-order. That is definitely the biggest downside between both Artisan and Lethal Gaming Gear. For Artisan, you have to wait for it to be stocked, and then you have to wait 2 weeks for it to get out of Japan, go through customs, and then get to you. Even with it being on pre-order for Lethal, I've seen it be pushed back time and time again, and it's not their fault, it's not Artisan's, it's just COVID regulations. So no one's at fault for that. It's just really unfortunate circumstances. And now Lethal are doing a pre-order that opens up on June 1st for these Pro Edition pads, and they're going to be delivered within Q4, which means anywhere from October all the way to December. And that's not a downside. I kind of do understand it, because I've seen tweets between companies, and they say it's just a lot easier to gauge the desire for the product. And then if you have an overstock and no one wants to buy it, it's way worse, because that's like a bad investment. So I'm not too at fault. I don't particularly care either. If things are on pre-order, they're on pre-order. Can't change it. I'm not going to somehow get a company to not put it on pre-order. So in terms of performance with this pad, I do feel like the initial friction really does depend on the feet that you have. For Pulsar mice, you can see that there are 2 big feet. For things like the Starlight, where it is 4 feet, and it's a lot less initial friction, I think because there's a lot less mouse feet, and it feels a lot better. So it really does just depend on you. I don't particularly mind either way. I like the initial friction on both designs, so that's perfectly fine for me. The main benefit to having bigger skates though is if you do feel like the Otsu is a little bit too uncontrollable for you, or you feel like you just would like a little bit more stopping power, this is where it beats the Otsu in my opinion. So just like the initial friction, depending on the mouse feet that you use, it'll end with either more or less stopping power. This 4-feet design ends with a lot less stopping power than a 2-feet design would. And the stopping power is definitely something that I said on Twitter that I do feel like the Venus was lacking in compared to the Otsu, but I was very wrong. After bringing out my Otsu and using it for a couple of hours, I realized that the Venus actually does have better stopping power. So not only do you get something that is premium, it has the same low initial friction, really smooth cloud-like glide, and then now it adds stopping power. It is very minimal. It is very hard to notice the difference in between the stopping powers, in my opinion, but you will notice it. The other thing too, this pad makes it really easy to micro adjust in whatever game you're playing. Any mouse too. I've been using my G303 a lot more now. It was actually my main for about a month, and I'm actually using it again. And even with a mouse that's relatively on the heavier side, it's still super easy to make small micro adjustments and correct my aim. Something that is really important to me, especially when reviewing products, is going to be when people use the term artisan-like. I understand that performance and the surface comes first, the stitching, how close it is to the performance of an artisan pad. I completely understand that. But when I use the term artisan-like, I usually am talking about how plushy it is, the lowered stitching, or even as something as amazing as the base. All of those things combined with the performance to me is what makes artisan artisan. So when I hear the term artisan-like, I usually assume that the surface is something very similar to an artisan pad, but there's one thing that is actually artisan-like. For example, the Padsmith pad, I do feel like the plushiness was very artisan-like. I feel like the performance and the surface was very Heian-like. So to me, that's where I would use artisan-like, is where it's like 2 or more traits of artisan pads in something that is trying to be a clone. But everything with this pad is the closest to an artisan pad you can possibly get. The Saturn Pro and the Venus Pro are the closest things you can get to a Zero and an Otsu. They have basically the same exact base. It's very hard to see, but you can see like up here, it's very similar, and I will be bringing up my Otsu after this to show the base. The stitching is lowered than the surface, which is incredible. The most I've seen is level with the surface and non-abrasive, but this stitching is so soft to the touch and it's lowered. And then the other thing too is the size. Size is also, it's really easy, I think, for a lot of companies to start using artisan sizes, but they are offering the 490 by 410 and then the godlike 500 by 500 size. And then the last thing is the plushiness. This pad is so damn soft. It is 3 millimeters. I would like it to see at 4, but you know, to each their own. I don't really mind it. It's still plushy either way, and it's very, very comfortable in your arm. Another thing that this pad does a lot better than the Otsu is it is smoother. It is somehow smoother. I didn't think you could get that Otsu surface any smoother, but this feels so nice. Now that I have my Otsu out, you can see that the bases are very, very similar to each other. It is basically identical, and they perform exactly the same. You also get that same orgasmic sound when you pull the pad off. I won't get it with this pad because it doesn't lay flat, but on my Saturn, I had a lot of that like Velcro-like sound. I don't really know how else to describe it. But just using my Otsu again, like I said, it's a lot lower initial friction. The glide is a lot better, and then the stopping power is not as premium as the Venus Pro is, in my opinion. And really, that is the main difference. I feel like if you're trying to find a slightly faster pad than a normal control, and you usually play games like CS, also with a little bit of Apex on the side, and you don't want to switch between pads, I feel like the Venus is where it really stands out and makes a big difference. I feel like the Otsu is a lot more track heavy specifically. I feel like it's a lot better for Fortnite and Apex if those are like your main games. But if you don't want to switch between a tack shooter and a track heavy shooter, then I feel like the Venus is going to be much, much better than the Otsu would. And like I said, the abrasiveness is definitely something that I never thought I would ever be complaining about with the Otsu, but you can hear it, I'm sure, through my mic, how loud it is. And then I'll be swiping my hand. It's a lot quieter. It doesn't sound like I'm putting my hand through gravel. And in terms of just my personal ability to aim with this pad, it was just so easy to get used to. It felt like nothing. I have been using the Otsu. I was maining that pad for like 3 months, so it could be a big reason why I didn't have any adjustment period. In terms of like the way you play too, when I first started playing COD, I was using a Heian and it was just too damn fast for me. And it was just really unfortunate. So I think depending on the games you play and how long it takes you to adjust to new things, those are really the only real things to consider when picking up this pad. If you know, or if you're willing to put up with that small bit of adjustment period for a premium pad, I wouldn't even hesitate. I would just tell you to get this pad. It's so much fun to use, especially the Saturn. Like I said, it's not only the Venus Pro that is going to be available. The Saturn Pro is also going to be available, and it's like a 0. And just as a really quick tidbit to what is truly different between this pad and the Otsu in terms of availability. So like I said earlier, the performance is very similar. They're much better size options. Like I said, you get one more size option, and then it's a lot faster shipping if it's in the US, if you do the pre-order on June 1st. And just comparing the Saturn and the Zero really quick, it is much easier to clean. I live in a very dusty room. I have AC blasting all day, and it's always like where the air is right above where my desk is, which is probably why I sound a little bit nasally. I'm very allergic to dust. But I've never had my Saturn in like the week I used it collect any sort of dust. And it is a lot cheaper than ordering from Artisan directly, either from Japan or from Lethal Gaming Gear. And then they also do offer the affiliate codes, which please use my new code Colossal. I'm very thankful that they allowed me to do that. But yeah, that is pretty much all for my review. If I missed anything or if there's actually any questions, then please let me know, because I really do love this pad. This is definitely one of the more interesting pads that I've seen be released. I'm honestly just super sick of seeing he and this, he and that. It's a hybrid pad. But what about the Otsu, man? I really do feel like the Otsu is just a more premium version of the Hien. It's just the Hien has a bigger name. But yeah, that's pretty much all for my review, and I hope to see you on the next one. Peace.
Okay, what's going on, guys?
Hella mats over here. Oh, there's another. Oh, it's a full team.